Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, Friday, the 29th of August 2014. This is John FARACLAS on the 33rd Allaboutshipping.co.uk market recapitulation and world politics. The Baltic Dry Index closed up 28 points today, since yesterday. It closed at 1,147 points, which is 59 points since last week's closing, which was 1,088 points. So that's something positive to say tonight. The BCI was closing up and finally closed up 76 points at 2,627 points, which is also up 92 points since last week's 2,535 points. Again, and as you will see later on, as we will mention about the Panamaxes, these two indexes they have dominated the upward trend, but this is a volatile effect. The BPI so closed at 871, which is 29 points since yesterday and 59 points since last week's closing of 812. The BSI was up 7 points, not too much, at 970, which again it was up 43 points since last week closing at 937 points. The BHSI closed up 5 points at 442, which is up 29 points since last week's 413 points. So we had plus indexes all through the dry markets, but this doesn't happen on the wet indexes. The Baltic Dirty Tanker Index closed down 13 points at 722, but that was up 21 points since last closing, which was 701. The cleans too were just minus 1 point at 547 and on par like last week's closing, which was on par 547. So caution in the markets. This upwards indexes does not constitute a buoyant market, which is the title, as you will read later on in our weekly recapitulation. That's the title. Now, let's go and see the world politics. Ukraine, the world states politics, Ukraine, despite minutes and shaking the meetings that they took place over the last 48 hours, and the good offices that many tried to use, nothing is happening. And despite the shaking hands, this is still a very turbulent situation. At the end of the day, it will become as a surprise to many, the outcome, but not for us, what's going to happen in Ukraine. Somebody is looking for trouble without having a proper RWAD. Nobody is, in other words, ready, willing and able to deliver what they want. Without the full support, and the result will really hurt. Forget the convoys and all that jazz. The deaths will bring more deaths and more deaths from both sides. This will, go off hand. Now, I have to remind you that in one of my favorite books, The Mighty Continent, written in 1974 by John Terrain, the prologue starts as follows. In 1900, Europe dominated the world. This is not just a figure of speech, nor is it simply a way of saying that. The world, Europeans exercised direct rule through Europe. It did in fact exercise direct rule all over a very large part of the world. Unquote. History repeats itself, and who wanted to see the destruction of Europe? I'm sure you did well know who wanted to see Europe being distracted with 2 world wars and a Cold War. That's very important. Now, coming closer to Europe in the Middle East and its periphery, again the total mess continues, and it will make it even worse. Libya. Who is controlling Libya? Europe, as we said earlier on, is in total mess in all fronts, internal and external. As we are in Greece, we are focusing on Greece. It is a country to be watched. The effect will be shattering if things are not being controlled internally and externally. The Far East will bring some tsunamis. Make sure you're far away. Africa, the Ebola deadly virus continues to make waves. Europe continues also to be in a messy situation out of this, because traveling really affects all these viruses and there will be prohibitions. Many countries, particularly in Europe, are lately on a high alert expecting a terrorist attack given the ISIS behavior. We are very much concerned with all this unhappy situation in the world affairs, and we wish our shipping people and the seafarers are all safe. Mind me, we constantly travel in the maritime world and we are very vulnerable, but also let it be known we can really strike back as and when we feel it. We can manage to get rid, and we will get rid of all these bastards, don't excuse my French, I have to use the appropriate words, whoever they are, and parade them in public if they dare disrupt our industry. Humiliation is the name of the game, and we know it very well. Now, this message is important because we must really care about our people, our seafarers, marine engineers who have constantly focused on this issue, and we are here to support them. Following all these pirate and terrorist attacks, we are very much concerned about our seafarers, and then the rest, of course, of our shipping industrial concerns. On another tone now, we have to feel positive in our life. We're giving you our ninth tip. Our ninth tip for holidays is Namibia on the Atlantic Ocean, with these unique sea coastlines that you haven't seen before in your life. And I'm sure this is a very place for all of us to go and have a great time. So have fun. Enjoy this weekend wherever you are, and don't be a fool. And you think that after 823 years, in the year 2837, again in August we're going to have 5 Fridays, 5 Saturdays and 5 Sundays. Don't be a fool, because next year, again, we're going to have in May 2015, 5 Fridays, 5 Saturdays and 5 Sundays. Now, why I'm saying this? Read carefully along the lines about the predictions of the market. Don't take things as granted. Don't be so, surprised about events taking place which you don't control. Sit down, study, analyze, and then come out and say what you think, what is the truth, and how the markets will behave. So don't be a fool. In May, very shortly, we're going to have in 9 months 5 Fridays, 5 Saturdays and 5 Sundays. On this tone, we wish you a lovely weekend. All the very best from All About Shipping and John FARACLAS in Athens. Over now.